Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. Welcome to our Team Stamp It Thanksgiving blog hop. I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous fall card. So you could do this for fall or you could do it for Thanksgiving, just kind of depending on what you want to do. I did not put a sentiment on it because it was so pretty. I almost kind of failed to find a spot to put it, but you could add a really nice Happy Thanksgiving or thankful for you on the front. We have a lot of great stamp sets, and what I will do is I will add those to the supply list, and I will also add them on the blog post. So if you're checking those out, you could go to rachthestamper.com. But this card was really simple, and it's got a lot of shine, which is amazing. So it really brings out that fall foliage. So you can see it there, and that is brought to you courtesy of the copper shimmer paint. So if you guys haven't gotten your hands on this yet, you really need to get your hands on this. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to show you, we do use quite a few inks today. So I'm going to show you those. We're going to use Pool Party, we're going to use Pear Pizzazz, Poppy Parade, Pumpkin Pie, Crushed Curry, Mango Melody, and then for the trees we're going to use Early Espresso. We're also going to be using our Stamparatus because it's going to make the trees so much easier to actually get onto our background, and I'm going to show you everything that we're going to do. So we'll do this all step by step. It's all very simple. I know it probably looks complicated, but the worst thing that you're going to have to do is just trust your gut that it's going to turn out the way you want it to. Okay, so what we're going to do for this card is we're going to start with a card. This one I did cut a little strangely. This is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So we're going to actually fold this in half, and we're going to make our card still open this way. Okay, so I've been cutting cardstock a little bit differently lately, just kind of depending on my mood. So we're going to have a side opening card because we do want to be able to get the trees on there. And then we have a few layers. So we're going to need a layer of Pool Party, and I actually already ran this through the Subtles embossing folder. If you guys haven't seen this, it is so gorgeous. You have to check it out. It really makes, oh my gosh, it makes cards so cool. And I'm going to tell you, I've said this 8,000 times, and I'll say it once more. The annual catalog does nothing for this folder, so if you don't have it, you need to get it. So that is going to measure 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have a pumpkin pie piece, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5. And then we have a piece for the inside. This is also going to measure 4 by 5 1/4 since it's a dark card on the inside. You want to be able to see what you wrote. And then we have one final piece of paper, and I believe this one measures 3 1/2. Let me see. 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. That's correct. So this is what we're going to actually put our trees onto. Okay, so these we're going to put on the side because we're going to layer these a little bit later. And we're going to start decorating our trees. And what I want to show you is that I actually ended up doing this with a whole bunch of different sponge daubers, okay? So it was quite easy if you kind of just eyeball where you want your trees, so you can kind of rewatch the video when you're doing this to eyeball your trees, or just kind of give yourself an estimate of where you think you want to put them. So you want to have a little bit of space for the sky, a little bit of space for the grass. It doesn't need to be a lot. And actually, I took my ink pads and I went back because I dropped some red there, and I just took all my little Stampin' Right markers, I should say, in the coordinating colors and put some fallen leaves. So you can do that or not. That's completely up to you. And then I did put a little Pool Party behind just to kind of fill in the sky. So just remember, you're going to want your trees to be about mid-range, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with the lighter color. So we're going to go with Crushed Curry, Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, and then Poppy Parade. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a little bit of the sky to the card. And doing this, I did all of these with sponge daubers. So I have a whole bunch of different sponge daubers. That was the easiest way for me to do it. So we're going to start off for the Pool Party, for the sky. I'm going to use a lighter color. And I just have a little piece of scrap here. I'm going to just very lightly, so I'm very lightly, you can see bouncing, dipping my ink into the Pool Party ink with my dauber and just kind of bouncing it around on the paper. It doesn't have to be heavily inked. And if you want to, after you daub it a couple times, you could sponge a little bit just to spread the color around. Just depending on what you want to do. There is not any wrong or right way to do this. And you will find more that you do this, you'll be able to blend your colors a little bit better and find what pressure works for you, okay? So I'm going to keep this out because we're going to need this for the pool party. But in the meantime, we're going to move on. So we're going to start with our lightest color, which will be Crushed Curry. And you're going to see for a couple of these, I'm going to go from one ink to the other. So you want to make sure you have fresh sponge daubers for yourself. So Crushed Curry, and we're going to kind of just pop around. So what we're doing is filling in the foliage on the trees. Again, you don't want to go down too far because you're going to have sky down here again and then a little bit of grass. Okay, so that was Crushed Curry. And then we're going to add in some Mango Melody. Again, this is darker, that's why I'm dipping. So Mango Melody, kind of spread these out. I thought this was a really fun way to do this. I don't remember where I got the idea. I had seen so many really, really pretty, now moving on to pumpkin pie, pretty fall cards, and I had seen actually an older card that was made at some point, which I guess Stampin' Up! Carried some foil. This must have been a while back, and it kind of looked like shimmer paint, and I thought, wow, I could do that, and that was actually with Lovely as a Tree. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Poppy Parade. I'm going to just dab this off just a little bit. So Poppy Parade, and I don't want to put too much of this in. I'm using the Poppy Parade probably the most sparingly. Okay, and then I'm going to grab actually a new dauber because now I'm going to go to green. I don't think green and red would make such a great combination. So I'm going to bring out the Pear Pizzazz. And then, as you all know, on fall trees, you know, you always have those couple trees that hang on no matter what. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of green. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep both of these out. I'm going to do my pool party. So I'm going to just, again, same sponge dauber, I'm going to just bring this back in and just blend a little bit off. That was probably a little bit too dark for the sky. That's kind of underneath and behind the trees. Okay, so that should be good. I'll keep this out just in case I need it. And then I'm going to come back in again with the Pear Pizzazz and just blend this from the bottom. This is probably just a little, I think it's picking up whatever ink was on here, a little bit darker than I want it to be. There we go, that's a little bit better. I think I had a higher concentration there. So I kind of just want to fill this in with the green. This is just kind of for the grass portion. And since I have that little dark spot at the bottom, I'm going to just go over the edge here with the dark. And the same thing for this corner. Okay, just like that. All right, so we should be finished with the Pear Pizzazz. I don't think we're going to need that any longer. So right now, it kind of looks okay, and you think, well, gosh, someone in elementary school could have done that a little bit better. And I'm going to tell you, that is what I thought at first too, and all the ladies that did this in the club thought the same thing last week because they were kind of concerned, but it does end up turning out so, so beautifully. So the reason we're going to use the Stamparatus is because we're going to need to stamp this more than once with the trees. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just open this up. Let me move these out of the way. If I can put this so you guys can see. So I'm going to put this near the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and put my magnet on. And then I'm going to grab the Winterwood stamp set. We're going to use these trees right here. And I thought the best way to do this would be so it was kind of overlapping. So we're going to kind of lay our trees down. And I might need to adjust this a little bit. Lay our trees down. This is kind of the spot where you have to decide where, and I have my paper lined up right to the corner here at the 7 and the 7, where you want these to be. So I'm actually going to end up putting mine down a little bit lower. So I'm going to put my magnet up here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to close my lid, press this to pick it up, Okay, that way when I'm finished, what I can do is just move it down a little bit. So I'm going to grab my early espresso and see a piece of something on there. I'm going to just lightly ink this up. Doesn't need to be too dark. But the cool part is if you miss something on here, you can always go back and redo it. So I'm going to close my Stamparatus and just press. And I'm going to check it. And if there's anything I missed, I'm going to go back and push again. Okay, a little bit more down here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my Stamparatus. I'm going to pick it straight up and move it over and see. So that's still a little too overlapping. I'm going to move it over one more. That's a little bit, not much. There we go. There's the happy medium. So once more, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink this back up. I only really have to do the this side because the other side will be hanging over. So I'm going to just slide this in. And beautiful. It looks really nice. So if you wanted to, if you want to make it a little darker, now's your chance. You can go back and just add a little bit more to those branches. Okay, just like that. So you can make them pop. You can see the difference. These are definitely significantly darker. I'm going to go back in, since I made those darker, and just ink the top of this one a little bit more. Same thing again. Just pressing. Okay, that looks really nice. So I'm finished with this. So I'm going to set this on the side. And I'm going to let that dry just for a minute. So just in case you've never done a Stampin' blog hop before, we do always give out a super cool prize. Thank you very much, Tammy, for doing that. All you have to do is leave your name and a comment and then hashtag Stampin' contest to be entered to win. You do have to leave this on the blog post. You can leave it on every person's blog post that is participating one time. So that usually gives you about 12 chances to enter, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to set this over here just for a moment so we can finish working on that. And I'll make sure if you go to the bottom of my blog, you can actually follow along. And there is a list of people that are hopping, so you can join with us. All right, so I have, let's see, that's Old Olive. I don't know where I left my Pear Pizzazz marker. I'm going to have to check on that. So I'm going to use Old Olive just to substitute. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking the brush tip of my Old Olive marker, and I like to do this just in case because sometimes you never know if it's going to show up or not. But what I did is I kind of put in like a little bit of grass around the bottom of the trees. You can also do this if you wanted to by kind of making a little bit of a horizon line. So as I've done here, you can kind of follow very gently just a little outline of where you think the grass goes behind here to meet the sky where it just fills in. So I'm just following that along, kind of pretend like this is a hill. Okay. And that just kind of, I'm going to take my my sponge and just soften it just a little bit, bringing it down. It kind of gives you that little bit more of a horizon line. Okay, so while this is a very pretty card, you kind of are like, well, it looks really nice, but I'm not 100% sure if it's like my absolute favorite or not. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. We're going to take our final step, which is quite honestly probably one of the more fun steps. You do need a clear block for this, and this is specifically because when you use these shimmer paints, they can tend to stain your sponge daubers a little bit. So you might want to find one that you have that's kind of like an older one, or one that maybe you don't really necessarily care as much about anymore, or one that you're going to just allocate specifically for sponge daubering with the glitter. So I'm just going to grab this one because it has a little bit of a reddish tint to it. And this is going to be my copper sponge dauber. So I could put something on here to notate it, but I'm going to keep it on top. That's what I usually do. I usually keep my shimmer paints, and I'll keep the sponge dauber that goes with them just sitting right on top of it. So you do want to make sure that you really shake this up. Okay, and you're going to take off the lid. And if you watch another video coming up, you'll understand why I'm touching on this again. When you dip in this, I have some new videos next week while I'm away, so stay tuned for that. When you dip in this, this is really concentrated. So what you want to do is dip off onto a clear block just to kind of dilute the paint, okay? And then what you're going to do is very gently just tap this over top. You can always go back in if you want to add more. Just like that. And as you can see, I'm not really putting a whole lot of pressure on these when I am tapping it. But what this will do, and you can always go back in here if you need more, just kind of dip it in the bottom and then dip off again so you don't have too much of a concentration in any one spot. And you can kind of dip in. And the copper will blend the colors a little bit because it kind of masks them. But when you look at your paper from the side and it has that shimmer, oh, it looks so, 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 so pretty. So this is probably one of the coolest things I've done. Now I am going to cover this up. If for some reason you needed more, you just closed it, shake it, and then dip into your lid again. And then with your paint that you have left over here, you can just wipe that off onto a, I have like some shop towels that I use in addition to my stamping chamois because this can be a little bit glittery. So just be a little bit careful with that. But isn't that just so pretty? This, if you guys can see this in person, it is so beautiful. Love that shimmer that it has to it. Okay, so now we're going to just finish up assembling, and this is really simple from here. All we're going to do is we're going to put a piece, this is the tea room ribbon. It's actually a combo pack. So we're going to use, we're going to actually make this with a faux bow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie my bow first. And if you want your bow to be flat, you want to bring it around the back. Like that. Let's see if I can do this. Tying bows on camera is probably one of the hardest things to do, believe it or not. There you go. Okay, so we're going to tie that. I'm going to bring that down. And I just want to snip this. I don't want it to be too long. So I'm going to snip. Pull that a little bit. So that looks good. Bring this in a smidge. Okay. I'm going to cut just a little bit more off of this. Funny part is when I used to watch people do videos and I would always say, gosh, they waste so much ribbon cutting off at the end, which is true until you get to be of a certain age, which myself is included in that. And you have a really hard time with getting teeny things through. So now I kind of understand why they had to use so much ribbon. All right, so I'm putting just a little bit of snail adhesive on the back and I'm going to put my ribbon here. And then what I'm going to do is wrap it around and kind of eyeball where I have it lined up. I'm going to trim this. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that I like that it's nice and straight. You could put it down a little bit lower if you like. It's kind of up to you. And then what I'm going to do is just take a mini glue dot and put this right here, just like that. So it looks like you tied this gorgeous little bow right around there. And I'm going to adhere this. I'm going to do my Tombow liquid glue. I'm going to put this onto my pumpkin pie panel, which might seem a little crazy, but I'm going to tell you, I tested out numerous colors of orange. I did Mango Melody. I did pumpkin pie. I did Cajun Craze, and this one is the one that turned out the absolute best. So then we're going to take that and we're going to put some dimensionals onto the back. Okay, and again, you can add your, if you wanted to add a Happy Thanksgiving or Thankful for You. Thankful for You, there's actually a gorgeous Thankful for You in the Sheltering Tree stamp set. It's kind of a handwriting scripty one. It's very, very pretty. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to put this onto our panel that we embossed with the Subtles folder. So we're going to just lay that on here. Just like so. Okay, and then we're going to put some liquid glue here. This is our base, card base. This is Early Espresso. Okay, and we're going to pop this right on here. Just like that. Just give that a good press. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then I also did add a Whisper White panel on the inside, so you could also stamp your Thanksgiving greeting or your fall greeting or whatever you want to add into that. This would be a great card if you were invited to a Thanksgiving in someone's home to be able to share with them. Such a beautiful card. And look at that. So there are 3 different cards. This one probably has a little less ink. This one was the first one I did. As I said, I dropped my red, so I added in a few leaves. So you can kind of do this any way you like. I just want to move this over and get all these out of the way so I can show you all 3 of these cards. So 3 different versions. This is the original. And then I made this one with my club girls the other day. And then I just made this one today. So really, really pretty, very simple, really not terrifically hard to do. You could do an assembly line and get a whole bunch of these and send them out to all your family. So I thank you guys very much for stopping in. I hope you love this card. It was so much fun to create. And it is so much fun to continue creating every time because your colors are going to always look a little bit different. If you have any questions, you can send me a message on Facebook. You can find me at Rachthestamper, also on Instagram and on Pinterest. You can find me on my blog at Rachthestamper.com. Hopefully you're already here. You can always leave a comment there as well. And please don't forget to leave a comment to enter the Team Stamp It contest for this specific Thanksgiving blog hop. And if you have any other questions, you can shoot me an email always at Rachthestamper@gmail.com. You can find all these supplies and more listed at the bottom of the page on the blog hop. If not, you can hit my online store 24/7 at rachthestamper.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching.